Hello and welcome to the NBA Market Advantage podcast. I'm Big Italy 42. He is Jason Gilbo at JGilbo11. Getting close to Christmas here, and we're the day before Christmas Eve now. And we got, I think this has been the biggest slate of the year. Don't quote me on that, but 13 games. I think the biggest ones before have been 12. But either way, one of the biggest slates we've seen this year. And surprisingly, not a lot of huge totals. A lot right around 200, just above 200. But we got a couple totals of games that are in double digits. But either way, we're going to talk about some salary differences here. Starting off with DraftKings' most disrespected player, and that's Brook Lopez. I don't know what the guy has to do to get his price increased, but I'm going to continue to play him all the time on DraftKings. He's only $6,900. Facing Dallas, and Zaza Pachulia has been good down low. He's actually been really good defensively, but Lopez still just much more athletic. He's faster, he's stronger, he's everything other than maybe, I don't know, smarter than Zaza. But either way, 6,900 compared to 81 on FanDuel. I'll still throw him in a couple FanDuel GPPs, but I mean, he's easily cash game playable for me on DraftKings.
Yeah, I mean, points per dollar, he's probably your best bet for center tonight on DK. And I mean, maybe he trashed the DK lounge at the Barclays Center there or something, but yeah, I mean, he continues to be underpriced, and he's definitely my favorite center on the board there.
That was a great reference, by the way. I didn't even know they had a DK lounge there, but either way, Isaiah Thomas next up, $7,700 on DraftKings, 83 on FanDuel, and it's not a significant difference here, only 600, but the fact that you do have the potential for the double-double bonus, the 3-point bonus as well on DraftKings makes him even more valuable and at a lower price. And this is a guy who's been getting it done even in the games where he's not scoring well. I mean, aside from the Cleveland game where he shot 3 for 15, only 21 fantasy points, had 42.25 against Minnesota, and shot just 3 for 9 with 8 actual points. He just did everything else. So now this guy, last year, year before, he was kind of the guy that he's going to come off the bench and he's going to score, but now he's in a starting role, at least for now. I mean, he's doing everything and not just scoring, which makes him, a great cash game play for me too.
Yeah, I really like Isaiah Thomas tonight. I mean, like you mentioned, just 8 points last game and still scored 42 on DK there. So he's just taking on more of a point guard role, I guess, but he can still, score it when he wants to. And pretty decent matchup tonight against Kemba Walker. And Boston has kind of a surprisingly low total, which maybe will keep some people off of him. But, I mean, easily they're one of the best offenses on the board.
Yeah, and Thomas had a huge game against them first time up, 21-13 at 5. So certainly has the upside there. And then another guy with a big difference, as probably the 5 millionth time we've seen this. He was sick last night. None of us knew it, but it was a 4-game slate, and you were going to play him anyway, especially on FanDuel. Jameer Nelson up to 56 on DraftKings. They raised his price, but not Brook Lopez's price. And on FanDuel, he's only 46. So in the game with a huge total here, Denver and Phoenix are a relatively huge total. I'm not going to be playing him on DraftKings probably on this big slate at 5,600, but Phoenix has not been good against opposing guards. And 4,600 there, assuming that Moutier's out. I don't think it's been official, but it looks like he's probably going to. But one of the bigger price differences on the slate if you are going to go back to the Jameer Nelson well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great matchup for him because Phoenix has been awful against guards this season. But DK, I mean, that's a little pricey just because he hasn't been too involved in the offense. Maybe it was just because he was sick last night, but he just didn't look like he was all there. And it's kind of been happening the last couple games, even though he's put up decent lines on DK, but it's just a little too pricey for me.
Yeah, I'm with you there. And then Matt Barnes, another one of those guys who's creeping up there on DK. Still just $4,900 on FanDuel, but 57 on DraftKings. And the guy has been just phenomenal recently. Last 3 DraftKings games, 32.75, 38, 36.5. Double-digit rebounds in 2 straight games. So he's getting the double-double bonus. Facing off against a Washington team that, as we know, does not defend the 3 very well. He'll probably see some time at the 4, of course, there as well. But Matt Barnes, as far as mid-range values go, just continues to be the chalk.
Yeah. I mean, another great matchup for him tonight against Washington. And you got defensively, I mean, he's been great. He gets you kind of either 6 to 10 fantasy points just through defensive stats alone, which is a nice way to add to his floor. So really like Barnes again.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely one of those guys, like you said, doesn't need to score a lot of real points to pay off. Omri Casspi, another similar type player to Matt Barnes, also in salary, $5,900 on DraftKings, 51 on FanDuel, and had a couple down games for him recently, 18 and 19 points, but sandwiched in there was a 36.75 game on DraftKings, a 38 before that. So this is a guy that's about his floor, is that 18 to 20 range, which you don't like at almost 6K. but he does have some upside. And this game actually has the highest total in the night, Sacramento and Indiana. So quietly, it looks like it's a bad matchup for him, but then you factor in the fact that it is the biggest total, and maybe you still give Casspi a look here, at least on FanDuel.
Yeah. I mean, he's in play on FanDuel. I think he's a pretty good GPP play just because he does have a lower floor in cash games than I would like. But I mean, he can get you 30 fantasy points, and I don't think the matchup's too bad against Indy, who are just not that intimidating, I guess you could say. They push the pace a little bit more, so I think fantasy points are not as scarce as they used to be when teams were facing Indy.
Yeah, absolutely. Points are only scarce when Kawhi Leonard faces Paul George, and then points are scarce for Paul George. But another guy who's got a pretty big difference, Marvin Williams, 57 on DraftKings, 5,000 on FanDuel, and this is a guy who has been fairly consistent, getting upper 20s to low 30s a minutes. You can usually count on him for 20 to 25 points. Not a guy that I'd be playing in GPPs, especially on this huge slate. But if you need a guy to fill in at a position that you don't love, mid-range options as far as power forward go, he's not a bad option because there's not a lot of other viable cash game options around his price.
Yeah, and at least with Williams he's going to get minutes. He's been kind of seeing. He usually sees over 30, but every now and then you'll see him drop down to 25, which is a little bit disappointing. But I mean, in that mid-range play, I guess he's pretty safe against Boston, who hasn't been great against power forwards this season.
Yeah, and there are a couple guys around that range. As we were talking DK, Ryan Anderson's only $200 more. Yeah. Nerlens Noel in a good matchup is $100 less. He's seeing upper 20s in minutes. He's a GPP type of play, but Milwaukee's they've been bad against pretty much everyone this year, though, for sure.
Yeah, Noel, I mean, he definitely has upside for his price, and the matchup's great. So I think on DK, I think that's a pretty good play, especially with the double-double bonus.
Yeah, that's true. Another guy who it's got a decent price difference. It's a fine matchup, but as you know, he doesn't need to do a whole lot. Tim Duncan's 5,500 on DraftKings, 62 on FanDuel. It would really be contingent on Minnesota keeping this one close, but I just don't see it. They're a big favorite in this one, and you just know how these things go with the Spurs, especially against a team like Minnesota. You don't have the one guy you really have to worry about shutting down. The team defensive effort should probably keep this one from being close enough that he's going to matter tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to play Duncan, but, I just think that upside's not there. Hopefully, I mean, I guess in cash for 5,500 on DK, if he gets you in that 25 to 30 fantasy point range, it's not a bad option, but you just can't see him playing big minutes or really getting involved heavily.
That's true. Give me your take on Kristaps Porzingis here. 7,100 on DraftKings, 63 on FanDuel. Playing now mid towards upper 20s in minutes. Not a great matchup. I mean, individually, he'll get Kevin Love, which isn't bad, but, the team defense style, not a good one. And you know how the Cavs are. Facing the Knicks, it's Porzingis and it's Melo, who looks like he's going to play, and there's nobody else. So are you a believer that the Cavs will be able to not shut these two down, but slow them down, or are you still playing them?
No, I don't think so. I mean, like you said, this is like the biggest slate of the season, so I'm not going to be on Porzingis tonight. I mean, FanDuel, his price is nice enough to throw in a GPP, but I don't know. I don't think the floor or the ceiling's there tonight. Yeah,
I'm with you there. I'm on Team Fade also. One more guy that I want to mention here who's got a different price increase. Also not playing big minutes, but as far as a per minute basis, especially at his ripe old age, he's been very good. $6,400 for Dirk Nowitzki on DraftKings, 7,000 on FanDuel. Did play last night, played 28 minutes, but no indication that he's going to sit on the back-to-back, but he has before, so keep your eyes on that. But, I mean, the guy's been 25 to 40 fantasy points just about every single night the entire season long. So if you have to have a cheap guy, I'm not going to pay $7K for him on FanDuel on this slate. But, on DraftKings, especially with the double-double bonus, I think he's in play.
Yeah, I really like him at 6,400. I mean, he's been really consistent and hasn't had a back-to-back in a while, but last time he did, he faced Washington and put up 34 fantasy points, and then the next night put up 36 on New York. So, I mean, he sat for a lot of the fourth quarter last night, so should be rested enough even on the back-to-back.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on board there. All right, that'll wrap things up here for us for the Market Advantage. Find us on Twitter at DF Cafe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out the rest of our content at dailyfantasycafe.com.